Global Gridlock Report. Russia's shadow fleet expands to evade Western sanctions. Amid intensifying Western sanctions, Russia has strategically expanded its so-called shadow fleet of oil tankers, raising concerns about the global energy market and geopolitical stability. According to recent reports, these vessels are enabling Moscow to circumvent restrictions and continue exporting oil to willing buyers, particularly in Asia, despite bans from the European Union and the United States. Before we proceed, please like, comment, and subscribe to help us with the YouTube algorithm. The Shadow Fleet, a loosely organized network of aging, anonymous tankers, now plays a central role in Russia's efforts to sustain revenues that fund its economy and military operations. With the fleet growing in size, many of these ships operate in international waters using complex techniques to disguise their movements. These include switching off transponders, falsifying destinations, and conducting ship-to-ship transfers to obscure the origins of Russian crude oil. The creation of this fleet reflects Russia's determination to defy Western sanctions imposed after the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. By relying on covert transportation networks, Russia ensures the steady flow of oil to non-Western countries, including India and China, which have shown little interest in aligning with sanctions. Analysts estimate that up to 10% of the global oil trade is now conducted through these clandestine networks, further complicating international efforts to curb Russia's financial capabilities. The European Union's ban on Russian seaborne oil, implemented in December 2022, was intended to cripple Moscow's energy revenues. Additionally, the G7 imposed a $60 per barrel price cap, limiting the price at which Russian oil could be legally transported by insurers from participating countries. Yet, the emergence of the shadow fleet, coupled with a growing reliance on non-Western insurance providers, has significantly weakened the impact of these measures. Western officials have admitted that tracking and regulating these operations has become increasingly difficult. The anonymity of the ships involved allows Russia to circumvent shipping rules without facing immediate consequences. Ship brokers in countries such as the United Arab Emirates and Singapore have played a key role in facilitating these transactions, often providing the necessary logistics to keep the vessels operational. Experts warn that the rise of shadow fleets creates dangerous precedents. Apart from undermining international sanctions, the use of old, unregistered tankers increases the risk of environmental disasters. A growing number of these vessels are flagged under obscure registries, operating without proper maintenance or oversight, raising concerns about oil spills in fragile maritime ecosystems. This clandestine oil trade has also intensified geopolitical tensions. The Biden administration is actively lobbying nations such as India to restrict purchases of Russian crude, but such appeals have been met with resistance. India and China, both facing growing energy needs, continue to benefit from discounted Russian oil, which has become essential for their economic growth. Further complicating the situation, reports suggest that Russia's shadow fleet is evolving beyond oil. Shipping experts have hinted at the possibility that these vessels could be repurposed to transport military supplies, further contributing to Russia's war efforts in Ukraine. NATO allies fear that unchecked maritime activities could embolden Moscow to escalate its aggression while undermining Western unity on sanctions. The growing influence of Russia's shadow fleet underscores the difficulty of enforcing global financial restrictions in an interconnected world. The proliferation of sanctions-resistant networks demonstrates the limitations of Western power and suggests that countries willing to defy international norms can continue to find pathways to survival. As the conflict in Ukraine drags on, policymakers in Washington and Brussels are increasingly debating new strategies to tighten restrictions on Russian energy exports. However, with the shadow fleet expanding and major players like China and India unwilling to curtail their economic ties with Moscow, it remains unclear how effective future sanctions will be. The emergence of these maritime networks has become a new front in the ongoing geopolitical standoff, complicating efforts to isolate Russia economically while exposing the limits of Western influence in the global order. Western observers continue to monitor the shadow fleet's activities, recognizing that the clandestine trade in Russian oil is not just an economic issue, but a broader challenge to global governance and maritime security. With tensions still high, The international community faces hard questions about how to respond to an evolving landscape where sanctions are increasingly difficult to enforce.